carbs are terrible for me.
Have you ever had? What about? No.
I've had zucchini.
I can give you
I had
zucchini spaghetti, and you won't even know that it's not real spaghetti.
I had zucchini spaghetti.
These lights are really bright.
Well, that's the point.
Does it change anything on the camera?
No. Well, it creates some hard shadows.
They're like, we don't want. We want to see. You need better lighting. We have a whole fucking recording studio, and we're not going to
use it because this is better in the bunker.
Pierre has nothing to do today. He's the first one on here.
Of course, Pierre's never working.
What's up, guys? So we're on podcast right now. We're recording.
Podcast number 14.
4:57, January 11th, Friday.
Friday.
I must have just got service because a bunch of shit just came through my phone right here. So, give us some podcast questions, and we'll possibly read them. Except yours, Curtis Morgan. We're not reading yours.
Curtis is on there? Don't you work?
Curtis doesn't work.
Jesus.
Alan Sizemore. Hey, what's up, man? Everybody's like podcast time.
Is it podcast time?
We need you to ask some stuff. I have nothing to talk about
yes,
today.
It's 100% still cold in here. You got all kinds of stuff to talk about today.
What do I have to talk about?
Let's see. What were we? We were talking about something pretty good at breakfast. Pizzagate. We were talking about Pizzagate, and why is it that I am very anti. I am unlike John. I am very anti-conspiracy. I always want to, when everybody gives me some sort of conspiracy theory, not to say that there are not conspiracies, because the government does do crazy shit all the time, but I want to pull all the threads of your conspiracy theory and see why it doesn't work. For the most part, I'm not just gonna jump into some conspiracy theory and be like, "That's them. They're the guys. Those dudes over there." I want to pull all the things, but the thing about Pizzagate and the Clintons is there's some crazy conspiracy stuff surrounding the Clintons.
Oh yeah,
but
every conspiracy theory out there surrounds the Clintons.
Crazy conspiracy stuff around the Clintons. The thing that's weird is
how intertwined they are.
Yeah,
with the people who have been convicted for child.
You can do 6 degrees of separation on everything, but with the Clintons, there's not that separation. Like they have people. They have people that are like right here in the picture next to them that are fucking jumping out of windows and shooting himself in the head and the back twice and jumping into rivers and drowning and shit. All kinds of crazy shit. Whoever is doing the hits for the Clintons, the guy is awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
So we're talking about like Pizzagate. Like if you don't know what it is, just look it up. It has nothing to do with pizza. And Pedogate. And then the new term is pedivore. And what they're saying is in all the child sex trafficking and stuff, it's not just, they're not selling these kids for prostitution. They're actually killing them. And a lot of it, like they're saying that the movies Hostel 1 and 2, that those are real. Like that really exists. Those are real things. And it's like we were talking, months ago, the elite, as you get a taste for something and that becomes the normal, you have to chase that next thing. And that's what they're talking about. They're saying that as they torture these kids or people, it releases a chemical, and then before they actually consume parts of the body or the blood, that's actually what they're after. And you guys, it's a very long topic that I don't know a lot about. I've watched a few videos on it. They're all out there. All you just search Pedogate or Pizzagate, and it's pretty crazy because the people that are involved in this shit, that goes back to like Prince Harry and his father, Hillary Clinton, like she actually is saying things out there in tweets and saying things on video, like making open threats to people who are talking about this stuff. And they're in photographs and videos with multiple people who have been convicted of this, like dudes that are in prison who got caught with 200 kids in a shipping container. They're bringing them in through diplomatic channels. So when these things come into port or come into the airport, they don't have to go through customs. Just like they got busted in Haiti, Hillary Clinton and Obama got busted in Haiti diverted a bunch of funds in, and they had 22 children that they were trying to take out of the country after the earthquake. And they said, well, these kids are all orphans. And all the parents came forward, and none of those fucking kids were orphans. So look it up. I don't know a lot. I don't know enough really about it yet. Questionable young blood transfusions offered in... I'm not sure what the fuck that is. American Gunchick talked about him. That's how I know. Talked about who? Who are we talking about, Wes and Weber?
You know what's funny about the Clintons is their foundation got blown up because the Clintons were using that money in the foundation for personal use. So they paid for their daughter's wedding, which cost millions of dollars, by the way. They did all kinds of personal shit with the foundation money. And just recently, Hillary, in response to maybe this Crisco.
This is not where I need it.
Hold on.
I don't want it.
That's too high?
I want it lower.
How about Crisco?
That might work.
In response to Trump, let's build the wall, Hillary's decided what she wants to do is create another fundraiser to send money to poor Mexican children along the border. And I thought, man, what a great idea. Who is the idiot that is going to give her money for a foundation after she just got busted using her money out of her foundation? It's like, man, you Democrats are fucking retarded. What do you got? Anything good? The Beretta 92 will never have the same following as the 1911, I don't think, unless the government starts releasing them. And, you know, in our current climate, 15-round magazine gun, they're probably never going to release those guns.
I saw somebody had posted the other day that even Earl Ermey sold millions of Glocks. Said he fucking liked the 1911 the best.
I have a Glock. I just got a Glock 41. If anybody out there that hydro dips, let me know. I want to get the Glock 41 hydro dipped with a 1911 down the side of it.
Why does nobody hold her accountable? I think that's the same thing with the elite. Like, the laws don't apply to them. She just happens to be the one that's just fucking in front of the camera the most. There's a video out there I was watching last night when we started talking about all this stuff, and it's pretty fucking crazy how in the open they are with all this shit. Really crazy. Like, I think it's Podesta has a house that has a gold sculpture inside of it that is a body kind of arched over backwards that's missing a head. What that is one of the most famous pictures from Jeffrey Dahmer. When Dahmer was grabbing up male prostitutes and young men from places, what he was trying to do was basically make them zombies. He had tried with several victims where he actually cut or drilled into their head and poured acid into their head. He was trying to keep them alive so that he could have sex with them whenever he wanted to. But he killed most of them and continued to have sex with them until the bodies became, they stunk too much. That's when he disposed of them and went and got new bodies. But one of the most famous photographs associated with Jeffrey Dahmer is a man who has his head cut off and he's on a mattress arched over backwards. Yeah. And that is the sculpture that is in this dude's house. And he's best friends with Hillary Clinton. There's all kinds of fucking artwork like that of children... dead kids, children being raped, stuff like that. And don't listen to what I'm saying. Like, just fucking put that shit in there for yourself, because it is fucking everywhere. It's very easy to find. And the people that she is associated with that are so fucking close. Glad Dahmer is dead. He was jumped in prison. He wasn't, he was jumped in prison, which is another one of those... Somebody let that happen. He wasn't out fucking in general population sweeping up with a broom.
He was actually in the showers when they got killed.
Yeah, on
segregated showers. The guard had to have let him in there. I mean, that was on purpose. John was talking about earlier about the Pizzagate thing, and once again, like, I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but they've just had two major real pedophile rings get busted.
Hundreds of kids.
Two of them. One was, I believe, I might be wrong. One was up in Wisconsin, and the other one was, I almost think it was Texas, but I might be wrong about that. But they just busted these two rings. Both the guys that they arrested for went to jail, obviously. But They never made it to trial. Why? Because they were both killed inside federal prison. Now, I know what you're going to say is there's a lot of bad guys in jail that would love to kill pedophiles and people who traffic children. That is true. But there's also a lot of pedophiles that are already in jail, and they get segregated so that does not happen. The only way that guy could have gotten fucking killed is if somebody let the wrong person into the wrong space where he was standing. So it's almost like it's on purpose, which is,
of course it is.
Why would you need to kill that guy? Well, you need to kill that guy so his client list doesn't get out.
And that's the deal with all that shit.
Anyways,
these are moving too fast.
They are moving too fast. There's a couple of good ones. Dan Clinton.
But it really makes for a terrible podcast because I'm watching this and I'm not taking into account that we need the audio to be correct.
Over there.
Well, the audio will pick up, but it's just very fucking broken. Like, this is going to be a terrible podcast.
No, it's not. It's going to be the best one we've ever done because we were talking about Hillary Clinton.
It's always the mob guys. It's anybody that has some information against somebody that would be damning. That's how they get killed. Anyone that starts telling on her winds up killing themselves. Yeah, it's weird how they kill themselves.
That's kind of
tied to a tree backwards, fucking shot in the head by yourself, long-handed.
It's actually an old political move, and I'm sure this was going on way before J. Edgar Hoover. But J. Edgar Hoover had the resources to do this. He spied on everybody. He basically collected files on every single politician, everybody. Like they had fucking guys following everybody that you can think of around to gather information on the things that they do. And when you start doing that, that gives you political clout. And it is the reason why he stayed in the director's chair for as long as he did, is because he had files on everybody. And what are you going to do? There's two things you can do. You can let all that stinky stuff out and hope that the public forgive you and you can go keep doing what you're doing, or you can just be like, okay, J. Edgar, you can do whatever you
shot in the head and still return the gun to the gun safe.
Yeah, and that's how the game is played, and I guarantee you that's how the game is played now. The reason why the FBI has not rolled up the Clintons is because the Clintons have been manipulating this system for a long time. People know who they owe, and when you're talking about the top people at the FBI, they owe the Clintons. And that's what they're doing right now with Trump, with all these fucking investigations. It's because the people that are really in charge don't want him to fuck this up.
Like, there's video of Hillary Clinton even making fun of the Pizzagate thing, like threatening dudes over it and shit. Do we ever worry that somebody's gonna disappear us for things we say?
No, I'm not worried about it. I don't have any pieces to the puzzle. I'm basically just using my...
We're just saying shit that's out there. They're going to disappear Kevin Spacey?
No, they will not disappear Kevin Spacey.
They're going to kill Kevin Spacey, he said.
I don't think so, because Kevin... If you paid attention to what he's doing, he went... that his little thing that he did on TV where he came out and was in character, I think he was basically saying, hey... I'm gonna ride the crazy train here, guys. Please don't kill me, or something to that effect. I don't think so. Now, if he comes out and starts making accusations, well, he already had his pretrial, or it was his arraignment where they came in and put the charges out. I think they're probably going, hey, Kevin, this is what's going to happen to you. You are going to suck it up, and then everything will be fine in the end. It's kind of like Harvey Weinstein. He's not in jail, right?
The media let go of Spacey when he came out and said he was gay.
Harvey Weinstein's not in jail, right? I don't think Kevin's going to be in jail. I don't think Kevin's going to see
Oprah's still fucking chilling and hanging out with him.
Yep. So I don't know. It's all it's Hollywood, man. So there's a certain bit of drama that they have to interject into it. So you'll go, oh man, they're taking care of business, but they're not going to fucking do anything to those guys.
Chris Arena, what's up, man?
So, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. What else we got? What else? Anything? Media? Mafia? Mafia is powerful, but they're not as powerful as your politicians. When it's time to get rid of them, they will fucking sacrifice. They will sacrifice the mob guys. You think about billions and billions of dollars. You can't really have $1 billion in your bank account and not have dirty money in there. It's just not possible. What if you're bringing goods in from China or you're bringing whatever in from Haiti? There's dirty stuff that's going on in those transactions. So
Weston Weber's asked this several times.
Has he?
ISIS, does it stand for Israeli Secret Intelligence Service?
no, it does not stand for Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. It actually is a bunch of fucking turds that we, the United States of America, trained. We trained them, and then we went home, or we let them do what we just like, Obama's like, the war's over, let's go home. As soon as we left them with all our guns, all our equipment, and they just did what Arabs will do. They became factional, and they decided that they were going to take that country over. We created them.
Is it really just Arabs though? I mean, it's any
Well,
society,
I mean, it's any Muslim, Muslim caliphate, anybody that wants to be part of a caliphate.
But even beyond that, I mean, if you took any society and made everything equal, within fucking 6 months, somebody's going to be back on top. Somebody's going to have nothing because they're the fucking weak one. Somebody's going to be stronger, is going to take it from them, and then there's going to be some kind of economy at that point. Joe Thag, do I like or dislike Trump? I like Trump. I've liked Trump before Trump was president. I think he's doing a little bit more than other presidents. I still think that he has some fucking puppet masters or some controllers in there to play the game. I kind of look at it as like politics are actors, like WWE. Like one day you've got a wrestler that's a good wrestler, and then you've got wrestlers that are the bad wrestlers, and it's acting. You have to have a bad guy in every fucking movie. There has to be a plot. But I like Trump in that, business-wise, I like what he's doing. He'll say something, and then he'll dig his heels in. And, he kind of does his shit. I see myself kind of doing the same things on social media. So he's just doing, it's not okay for him to do what I do. Well, it's not okay for me to do it apparently either, because they fucking, ban my page and lock my shit all the time. But, no, I would go with I like Trump.
I like Trump because I don't think he's read in on the big scheme of globalism, in the sense that a big tell is this. Watch the funeral. Watch George Bush Sr.'s funeral when all the former presidents come in and all the former president's staff come in. They all sit down and they're all fucking shaking hands. They're all chummy together. Now, remember, Obama said some crazy-ass shit about Bush. Bush said some crazy-ass shit about Obama. Dick Cheney said crazy-ass... All those people talk shit when they were trying to get elected to each other. But when they're there at that funeral, they're all shaking hands and kissing babies and making like they're all chums and pals. Even Dick Cheney was talking to the Obamas. When Mike Pence came in, he went over to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton got up out of her chair. She shook his hand. They had a little joke. There was some smiling going on. The Obamas came over and talked to Mike Pence. Because remember, Mike Pence is part of the establishment. He's not new. Even though he's President Trump's vice president, he's not new to this game. So all of them greeted him. All of those people that, just a couple years ago pretended like they hated each other are all laughing and giggling together. When the president comes in, when Donald Trump comes in, nobody, not even fucking Mike Pence, greets President Trump. They all give him the cold shoulder at that fucking funeral, which, kind of leads me to believe that he's doing what he wants to do and not what all these fucking globalists want him to do. That's kind of my spin on it. I mean, I might be wrong, but if you take out all the rhetoric, forget about Donald Trump, just cross his name out, forget about Nancy Pelosi and all them. If you take out all the rhetoric, and you just list all his policy, all the things that President Trump has done since he's been in the White House, if you list that and you don't put a name on it, and you show it to anyone, I don't care if you're talking about Democrats or you're talking about Republicans, if you show that list to either side, they're both going to go, hey, this is a pretty good dude, because of all the things he's done, whether that's reforming sentencing or tax breaks. if you look at what he's actually done, you will see that he hasn't done anything crazy. And then if you look at, when they're talking about, they're talking about Trump is a fucking racist or Trump is a white supremacist and all that. You cannot name one thing that he has done that has been motivated by race, gender, or anything like that. As a matter of fact, he's actually put more females into positions in the White House than any other president. So if you get rid of all the rhetoric, if you throw all that shit in the trash, and you just look at what the man has actually done, man, he's done a pretty good job. But they don't want him to, because he's exposing a lot of the bullshit that's going on in the White House. I mean, this whole thing about us pulling out of Afghanistan and Syria, who would have ever thought that you would have had liberal Democrats arguing that the president has lost his mind and they should keep troops in the Middle East? Why is that? I'll tell you why that is. Because they are making money off of that shit. Those people are using our kids to go over there and make money. And it's not what you think. When you're at home and you're like, we invaded Kuwait for oil, or we invaded Iraq for... it's not what you think. We don't get any oil from over there. We don't get a single drop of oil from over there. But we spend billions and billions of dollars on technology right here in the United States. That's where they're making their money. That's how they're becoming rich. When Brown and Root in the first Gulf War, when everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's Dick Cheney's company. He can't be providing all that equipment over there." Brown and Root still exists. They just changed the name of it because everybody got upset. But that corporation still exists. Those people made millions and millions. I guarantee you by now it's got to be in the billions of dollars off of just supplying the troops. We don't need to go over there. They don't need to exploit American dollars. We don't need to import oil. We just need to start a war so we can have $21 trillion disappear from the Department of Defense. If that would have been anybody else, if it had been me, if I would have went somewhere with the fucking government credit card and came back and was like, I don't know where $1,000 of it was, you're guaranteed goddamn T, I'd have been in the brig for that shit. But they're all lining their pockets. And because they're all dirty, no one's going to go to jail. I got on a tangent there.
That's good.
What happened?
That's good. Somebody said whoever controls the media controls the sheep, thus controls the world.
Yeah, I mean...
So whoever said that, who do you think controls the media? Because every time I see it, they say 90% of the media, both Fox and CNN, owned by the same corporations, and when you really trace them all back, they're all owned by Saudi Arabia. All of the U.S. media outlets are all owned by companies in Saudi Arabia. That's where all the holdings are.
I mean, you think about, man, just the other night, every late night comedian was using the same jokes about
Donald
Trump. And it's like, how could all those comedians in separate places come up with the same material? Well, they came up with the same material because they are pushing an agenda.
Well, they're issued it. It's the same. There's tons and tons of videos out there. Every incident, every fucking news station reading the exact same script. There's tons of that shit. He isn't selling us on globalism. I think this is why Mattis quit. He's a globalist. No disrespect to Mattis.
Yeah, you got to understand that General Mattis, when General Mattis became Secretary of Defense, I waved the flag. I'm still proud that we took, that Kelly and Mattis took those positions. I'm upset at what they did by quitting because that set a bad precedent. You're a Marine, snap to, and I know they weren't Marines when they had that position. Bullshit. Nobody's waving the flag for General Mattis because he's Joe. They're waving it because he's General Mattis. He uses that rank and power for the position that he's in. So, I feel like what they did was terrible, but the truth be told, those are Clinton generals. Those are Clinton generals. Anybody who's got 4 stars on his shoulder grew up in the Clinton years when we were kicking Marines out left and right. And they also are part of the reason why we've been in Afghanistan for 10 years. There is no logical explanation for us to be over in either one of those countries still. None. There is no way that we should still be over there. But people are making money. And because people are making money, and because we have an all-volunteer force, nobody cares. That 1%, there's 1% of the population is serving in the military. Okay? I want you to think about this. 1% of the population serves in the military. Out of that 1%, about 2% have actually gone over and served in those combat zones. Out of that 2%, there's probably not even 1% who are actually engaging the enemy. So, you know, like when they said, oh, we're pulling 2,000 troops out of Syria, that's really like 2 MARSOC platoons that are over there actually fucking stabbing people in the eyes, and everybody else are just truck drivers and fucking MRE handlers. It's ridiculous. It is fucking ridiculous that with the equipment and technology that we have, that we are still over there. There's only one reason. There can only be one reason that the United States is still in those countries. And that's because people are fucking lining their pockets. And that includes General Mattis. I guarantee. Until you prove otherwise, General Mattis, that can only be it. Is you're lining your fucking pockets. Whether that's through military contracts or whatever it is,
the Pentagon
people are getting paid.
The Pentagon can't account for $21 trillion. HUD can't account for over $500 billion.
Yeah, they can account for it. They know where all that fucking money went, right? They know where every fucking penny was spent. And it's, you know, what they did is they had a contractor come in and remodel their office for $4 million. The contractor got $2 million, and they got $2 million. It's how that business is run. It's fucking shady fucking bullshit. You know, one of the things that people aren't paying attention to right now is we have private corporations. We have private corporations that have done more in the last 5 years. So in the last 5 years, it may be even shorter than that. I don't know when Elon started his space program. But they have done more in the last 5 years than NASA has done in 20.
I saw a Facebook post this morning a guy made, and it was pretty awesome. I actually printed it out, forgot to bring it in. But basically he said, you know, I work all day, and during this government shutdown I'm still working. And on the way home I'm listening to a podcast, and when I get home I watch video footage. While this is all going on, a private corporation has launched yet another space shuttle, a spacecraft, put its payload into orbit, and recovered and received its rocket on a remote ship out in the ocean while the government shut down. What the fuck? That's basically what he said. Another Saudi is buying the Chrysler building in New York again. World Trade Center, look that up. The World Trade Center insurance policy 3 weeks or so before the trade centers were blown up or fell down, whatever you want to go with. $125 million for the insurance policy, paid out $5 billion. Saudi Arabia, that's crazy. They received talking points. Edward Snowden, his asylum expires next year.
Oh, does it?
They are told.
Wait, Edward Snowden's asylum. Oh, they're telling him to get out of the embassy. Pamela Anderson goes and visits Edward Snowden all the time. Don't be too. Here, this is going to be a crazy thought and an idea. Don't be too concerned about Chinese or Saudi Arabia or the Russians or whoever, the Portuguese buying up things in the United States. It's just a maneuver of money. It doesn't really mean anything, because tomorrow, if we want to, we can tell the Chinese to fuck off and they don't own anything in the United States. And there's nothing they can do about it. Go to the World Court and be like, hey, we bought 50 miles of beachfront in California and now they're telling us we don't own shit. Who's going to enforce that? Nobody's going to enforce it. They're just going to be like, well, you shouldn't have bought that fucking sand. But, Saudi's buying the Chrysler building, whatever. It's just, what's more important about that is how much did they pay for it? Did it sell at market value? And where did that money go? And the only reason why I say that is because When Muammar Gaddafi was killed, when Muammar Gaddafi died, he was worth $200 million. Now, think about that. Muammar Gaddafi was worth $200 million and they killed him. They found, I'm sorry, $200 billion. Yeah. $200 billion. I'm still back in the 80s. He was worth $200 billion. After he died, so Muammar Gaddafi is worth $200 billion. After he dies, miraculously, somehow, through some sort of miracle witchcraft, we found $37 billion of his here in the United States. So he had $37 billion in the United States, and the federal government didn't know that? Of course they knew where that money was. And of course they confiscated it as soon as he was killed. Do you think that $37 billion
went to pay anything off?
Or went back to Libya? Fuck no. It's in somebody's. I mean, they're still. They
took it out of Libya.
They still have Pablo Escobar, all of Pablo Escobar's money, and I can't think of his name, the senator from Florida. He wants to pay for the wall using his $12 billion.
Opioid usage has risen 1,000% since we entered Afghanistan.
Yes, it has probably. I'll bet.
Is that because it's coming from Afghanistan?
No, we're the opioids. The opioid addiction that we have here is solely based off the pharmaceutical companies. They are manufacturing that opioid and they are creating that crisis because it pays very well, because it's addictive. You've roughly have about 750,000 Americans that have died from the opioid addiction. Like your child, I hate to tell you this, but you should take your 18-year-old kid and force them to join the military, because they have a greater chance of fucking dying here of pills than they do dying in Afghanistan. But yeah, it's manufactured here. Most of that opium that is made in Afghanistan goes to Europe. There's an actual pretty good documentary. I think it was CBS News or NBC. One of the kind of, I don't want to say mainstream, but not the left, not the extremes like Fox or MSNBC.
El Chapo's who you're thinking of.
El Chapo.
Gaddafi was killed because he wanted to go to the gold standard. I'd heard that before too.
But one of the mainstream media things did a expose on opium in Afghanistan, and they actually went to the opium fields in Afghanistan, and they're there with the general who's in charge of that area, and they're like, "Hey, what are we doing here? What's the end goal here? War on drugs, blah blah blah." And the general basically gave him a reach around and said, "Oh, we're going to destroy all this prior to the harvest. We just have to come up with a new plan for making sure that these farmers have something to grow, blah blah blah." Well, that's not the idea. The idea is they're going to let these farmers harvest all this drug material and let it go right into Europe. The news outlet actually went back, so they're like, "Hey, this stuff is gonna get it comes to harvest at this time frame," and so the news crew actually went back, hoping to catch the government destroying all this opium, and when they were allowed to go back, all of the opium had been harvested, gone, not burnt to the ground, had been harvested, and the general's remarks on this was, well, they harvested it early, so we weren't able to get to it in time.
Somebody said, "Always fun seeing the DEA and CIA in Iraq and Afghanistan." The opioid crisis is bullshit. It's people that don't care about what they put in their bodies and don't do any independent research. Opioids are the devil. Big pharmaceutical is a joke. One of my meds without health insurance is $1,800, and the other is $2,200. El Chapo's who you're thinking of.
It's very addictive. Opioids are very addicted. I'm not going to say, whether kids that are dying on that stuff, it is what it is, but it's a very addictive substance. And once you start going down that road, it's very hard not to keep going down that road. So, I mean, as far as...
How do you know all this shit?
How do I know all what shit?
I don't know. Somebody just said, how does Skully know all this shit?
I really don't know anything.
Do you think we'll get the wall? Somebody else asked that.
I actually don't think we're going to get the wall. I think we're going when we get to the wall portion. I hope not, but I think Trump is going to. I do not think Trump is going to cave. I believe that the Republicans are going to cave. That the Republican Party is going to cave, and you are going to have senators jump ship and join Nancy Pelosi in getting the government started again. It will be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see if Donald Trump vetoes it. So he can veto it and keep the government shut down. I think if it gets that far where he actually vetoes a bill, a bipartisan bill, one of two things are going to happen. They're going to send the National Guard into the White House and pull fucking Donald Trump out and declare him an enemy of the state, or the Democrats are going to cave and give him the money for the wall. They'll call it something else. They'll call it like, I don't know, a fence or a fucking sand dune or something. They'll call it something else, but I think if it gets to the point where he vetoes it, they'll have no choice.
All right, everybody's leaving. We gotta.
Where are we go? Where's everybody going?
Well, it's 5 o'clock on Friday.
It's been 5 o'clock. It's over. What time is it now?
That's what I'm saying.
5:30.
Yeah.
It's 5:30.
Yeah.
You're already gone. Anyways, all right. Well, we can. That was 30 minutes, right? It was good. I mean, it wasn't spectacular, but pretty good. We can't. Hey, it's true. We can't make the Mexicans pay for it. What do you call that? Western Union. You can actually make Mexico pay for this. If they just put like wouldn't even have to be high. If they put like a 5% tax on all money.
Oh shit.
All money that gets shipped from the United States to Mexico, they just put a tax on it, then we could have the Mexicans pay for the wall. It's a $1 billion industry. Mexico actually counts the money that gets sent from the United States into Mexico as part of their GDP.
I think we're going to ramp up the original Operation Vampire Killer plan before the wall goes up. Bear in mind that the Colombian military does not play. I don't know what we're talking about. Brandel, what's up,
they don't
Brandel?
Play. The Mexican military don't play either.
I think he'll declare a national emergency to build the wall and restart the government.
I don't know. Let's hope he doesn't do national emergency. You want it to be a real national emergency because what you don't want to happen is presidents deciding that they can just do national emergency anytime they want. So when, President Schumer, let's just say President Nancy Pelosi decides it's global warming is a national emergency, we're going to divert all funds from the military to turn air conditions on up and create new ice caps. You don't want. It would be setting a dangerous precedent for him to do that. It's kind of like all the stuff that's going on right now with the nuclear option and all that. You don't want one portion of the government to have all the power. It's kind of like my thing about going to war. The United States of America, the President of the United States, should not be able to have troops in combat anywhere in the world for more than 90 days without a congressional declaration of war. If Congress is not willing to declare war on whoever it is, we're going to declare war on fucking Sweden. If they're not willing to sit down and vote that out and declare war, then we shouldn't be allowed to have troops anywhere in the world. Whether that's Afghanistan, if they're not going to do their job, the president should not be able to have special war powers where he can keep guys. Fucking, it's been 15, 16 years. And this Congress has never once put a vote on whether or not we should be there. They should have to put skin in the game. That's the fucking biggest problem we have right now, is politicians don't have to put any skin in the game. This whole government shutdown, none of those motherfuckers aren't getting paid, so they got no skin in the game. They don't care how long it goes, because they're all getting fucking paid. It's ridiculous. We need to start putting skin back in the game. Once that happens, all these fucking shenanigans will be over with. If you said, let's just say this, instead of, we'll let the president have war powers, but every single time you send troops anywhere in the world for more than 90 days, you've got to draft you got to start the draft up again. Guess what would happen? We wouldn't be doing these fucking shenanigans all the goddamn time. Because that's the last thing the military wants. The military don't want people drafted and into the military. The military, these generals love the all-volunteer army. They love all this all-volunteer bullshit. Why? Because no one cares what happens to them because they volunteered. You take a kid out of college and you fucking ship them over to Afghanistan, it won't be long until there'll be people really protesting, really, standing in the streets talking about why the fuck are we still over there. But with an all-volunteer army, you don't have that problem. That's why they're doing it. That's why they did it.
No wall for sure. What a waste of money. Underground tunnels will kill the damn wall.
The underground tunnels don't really last that long. We find them really quick. They have radar now.
With the amount of influx that we have to go through there, there'd be a fucking beaten path. You could see from space.
And they're not using tunnels to bring in people. They're using tunnels to bring in narcotics.
Plus apparently some of the ISIS guys and shit are coming through the tunnels or whatever.
Yeah.
I just saw something. Trump was down there talking to some border patrol guys, and of course it could be staged, but he said out of every 200 people coming across the border, less than 100 of them are actually Mexican.
Yeah, there's a lot, Mexico. That's the thing. Most of these people are coming from other countries. There was a really good CBS News report. They actually went to...
Tons of Middle Eastern guys.
Yeah, they went all the way down to... God, it's on the other side of Panama, but it's the smallest point when you're coming up through South America. And there's a river you have to cross. So they just went there and waited. And all these people are coming across this river. And they just sat there and they interviewed them. They had people from Libya, people from China, people from all over the world.
A lot of Africa.
They could get down south. They could get approval to go down south, but then they would have to make the transition up to Mexico. So there's people from all over the world. So to think that
And Rudy, what do you give a shit about what the wall's going to cost? It's 17 minutes of the fucking operating budget for a year of the fucking government. Like, you're taking issue with that. What else are you out making posts about all the other shit that we're fucking wasting money on?
They actually spent President Obama approved $58 billion for the improvement of border security and the wall.
And called for it. Fucking rallied. We got to have it.
Why don't you ask what happened to that money? Because they didn't build any walls with it.
I'm okay with the wall, but I think there need to be way more troops.
It's just about funneling people, right? The wall is not going to stop somebody who's determined. Barbed wire is not going to stop somebody who's determined. We could put a fucking landmine. We could put landmines out there, and there would people that would get through because they're determined. But it's about channelizing people so you can focus your effort. So if I can channel people with this wall, if I can channel them to go through certain corridors, then I can focus my effort at the border. I can focus my effort and make sure bad guys and bad people are not coming through. That's what it's about. It's just about channeling. It's just defense. It's good defense. It's the reason why the Pope has a wall. Many Chinese, Middle Eastern, African military.
That's what he's saying. We're coming through there, yeah.
So, I mean, that's all it's about. It's just about channelizing. Will they put 2,000 miles of wall up? No. They won't do it because there's certain places you don't need a wall because the desert will eat them alive. It happens every year. Crazy.
That's all I got.
That's all you got? You don't have... Come on, something...
I got fucking nothing here.
God, you had so much today. There was some good stuff you threw out today.
We should have had a camera going then.
You had some good stuff.
I already used it. It's out.
You had some really good stuff. All right, well...
All right, guys. We got shit to do still.
Later.